am so tired of women being so exhausted and tired that they are not living their full potential in their life. And some women don't even, if they're too exhausted to even answer the question what they want, because it all seems so impossible. And the word that comes up over and over and over again is stuck. I just feel stuck. Now, I know this because I felt stuck and I thought there was no way out. I did not see possibility. And then I learned, and I learned tools, and I learned how to stand in my power. I was always a powerful person. I was a strong woman. I had a voice in meetings. It was what I was hired to do. But then I would leave the meeting and, swirl. And I felt like my life was this tug of war. And on this side was my life, and on this side was my career. And that the more I pulled towards life, my career would be impacted. And so ultimately, little by little, my career won out. And I had a good life, but not all that I really wanted. And I wasn't enjoying it because my career took over, right? And just sheer breaking me down burden. Not because I loved my career so much. It's just that honestly, I thought it was a zero sum game. If I went for that bigger job or that dream or that silent wish or hope in my head, that I'd somehow have to give up something in my life. And so many women are living this lie that somehow and they're actually feeling guilt and shame for wanting more or not actually being happy in this extraordinary life that they built because they're so friggin' exhausted, because they're not living in high energy. They're beating themselves up. They're not loving themselves. They're not on their own to-do list as a priority to take care of because they're so in the pleasing perfection mode of everybody else in their world. And then on that magical day when the stars align, they do a spa appointment, or when they're forced to have a migraine, get some rest, or get sick, or stomach issues, or just absolute exhaustion, or so exhausted that they can't even work out and they gain weight and then they feel bad about themselves. And it's this cycle of shame because we aren't loving ourselves enough to stand in our power, own our power and potential, and drop the freaking mic on our life and just go, boom, here I am. Like me, don't like me, I'm living big because this is who I am and it was what I am meant to do. And the women that we work with are extraordinary. And the lives they've created are extraordinary, but they're not enjoying them because they're so exhausted. And they're so exhausted because they're not standing in their power. They're so worried about pleasing and this responsibility and not using their voice in a way, being taken advantage of, asking for permission, which we're going to talk about next week. There's so much going on that they're not owning their beautiful gifts and strengths and power, and they're not playing a fair game with themselves because they're only looking at other people that they don't know their full story. They're only looking at how they're feeling in this exhausted burnout state. They're looking at what they wanted or what somebody else has or how somebody else is experiencing success. And they're not looking at everything they accomplished on their own and how badass they are. And I always say, think about this. You are so exhausted. It's like you're walking through molasses. And here you are walking through molasses and making all this stuff happen and being this badass woman that you are and managing all of this stuff and walking through molasses doing it. What would it look like if you were out of the molasses, on the road, skipping? What could you accomplish? Because look at what you accomplished walking through molasses. My God, wouldn't that be incredible? On your own terms, whatever that is. That's the life I want for you. And it starts with loving yourself, owning and embracing and standing in your truth, your voice, and your talents, and trusting that your weaknesses will be managed because you are a grown-ass woman and you know how to do it. And no longer living in this pleasing